From the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this is The Gateway. It's Monday, June 3rd. I'm Abby Larico. There were more than 1,900 people killed in the city of St. Louis between 2014 and 2023, and an investigation by St. Louis Public Radio, APM Reports, and the Marshall Project found police solved fewer than half of them.
It's a depressing number. It's a number that we should not be satisfied with.
St. Louis Public Radio's Rachel Lippmann has more on the impact on the community coming up on The Gateway. St. Louis Children's Hospital has announced it plans to build a center to treat pediatric mental health patients in Webster Groves. St. Louis Public Radio's Sarah Fenton reports the hospital plans to build the new facility with KVC Missouri, a nonprofit treatment provider that operates campuses across the Midwest.
Plans for the campus include a new residential treatment center and an outpatient clinic. BJC Healthcare, the system that owns Children's Hospital, already works with KVC, a nonprofit that provides foster care, adoption, and mental health treatment in several Missouri locations. Angela Martin-Davis is BJC's president for behavioral health and home care. She says the center will add to the 14 mental health beds Children's Hospital currently has for pediatric patients.
This will actually be able to greatly expand our capacity to be able to take care of kids. What we know is that we only have about 50% of the acute inpatient psychiatric beds that we need in this community.
Officials say the 70-bed facility will take around 2 years to build. I'm Sarah Fenton, St. Louis Public Radio.
Nearly half of St. Louis's 68 public schools are facing the possibility of being closed or replaced in the next 10 years because of their poor shape. That's according to Illinois-based architecture firm Cordigan Clark & Associates. The firm presented its findings of its assessments of St. Louis's public schools to the school board last week. They said the cost of upkeep if the buildings stay open will reach an estimated $1.8 billion by 2044. Steve Raskin is a vice president with the firm. He says it's important for school districts to make long-term plans for their buildings to ensure their success.
We're making sure that everything that we can do as architects and designers provides a safe and secure environment both for the students, but also their families, their parents, for the teachers, and for the communities themselves.
Raskin says the firm will meet periodically with the school board to figure out the best plans moving forward. The St. Louis City Charter Commission is looking to make the document that serves like a constitution for the city more reflective of St. Louis's present-day needs. It has released its draft recommendations for updating the city's charter, which was first adopted more than 100 years ago. The proposal includes giving the board the power to increase budgetary amounts and changing how the aldermanic president is chosen. Brianna Bobo is the chair of the commission. She says the changes would also include adding an office of the public advocate.
Someone who they can go to with questions, someone who will be looking out for them, and then essentially having guardrails up that would protect against potentially conflicts of interest.
The commission's final recommendations will be sent to the city's Board of Elections by August 15th. City residents could then be able to vote on the amendments in November. A group of legislative employees is suing Illinois' Speaker of the House over their right to collectively bargain. Alex Degman reports.
The Illinois Legislative Staff Association formed shortly after state voters approved a constitutional amendment guaranteeing all employees the right to unionize. Brady Burden sits on the organizing committee. He now believes court action is the only route forward because a measure that sets up a framework for unionization stalled in the Senate.
Recently, management has made it clear that they don't intend to meet with us as a union. They don't intend to move House Bill 4148. We're just moving forward when we were ready to move forward.
The suit is asking the court to clearly define the union's rights. A spokesperson for Speaker Welch says they'll review the lawsuit. I'm Alex Degman.
There were more than 1,900 murders in St. Louis between 2014 and 2023, and the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department has failed to solve more than 1,000 of them. That means thousands of family members and friends do not have answers from police about the violent death of their loved ones. Rachel Lippmann has the story. It's part of an investigation into the city's homicide clearance rates by St. Louis Public Radio, APM Reports, and the Marshall Project.
A few nights before Christmas 2017, Donita Stunson took a phone call from her daughter, Dominique. They talked about Dominique's job and her upcoming semester of college. They said goodbye around 11 o'clock. The next morning, Stunson returned from breakfast during her shift at the Toyota plant near Tupelo, Mississippi, to more than a dozen missed calls. One was from her youngest daughter, Danielle.
I was like, Danielle, what's going on? She was like, Mom, I'm trying to get to Dominique's house. They say something's wrong.
Then Stunson's father called, telling her she needed to come home.
I sat right in my desk. I opened up my browser, and I went to St. Louis News.
Police on the scene right now investigating a triple homicide happening just an hour ago on the
Dominique, 24, was one of the victims. Her close friend, Reba Moore, was also dead. So was a third young woman, Shanice White. All three were found in a car outside the apartment Reba and Dominique shared on the city's north side. They'd been shot several times. In the 6 years since, no one has been arrested. Data analysis by SLMPD, APM Reports, and the Marshall Project show that police haven't been able to solve more than half of the nearly 2,000 murders in the city between 2014 and 2023.
It's a tragic number.
1,000 unsolved homicides in a decade is unacceptable, says Ness Sandoval, a professor of demography and sociology at St. Louis University.
It's a depressing number. It's a number that we should not be satisfied with.
The investigation also found stark gaps in the clearance rates for Black and white victims. Homicide detectives lack the resources needed to do their jobs, and a number of officers assigned to what was once considered an elite unit repeatedly failed to take basic investigative steps critical to solving cases and securing convictions. Detective Craig Robertson, for example, was written up for failing to collect critical evidence which might have led to an arrest. Robertson, who was originally assigned to that triple homicide, was also written up for failing to keep in touch with families, including Stunson. The St. Louis Police Department refused multiple requests to make Chief Robert Tracy available for an interview to discuss the findings. Robertson retired from the department in late May. There are consequences when police fail to solve a large number of homicides, says Jessica Myers. She's director of the St. Louis Area Violence Prevention Commission.
That can undermine police legitimacy because community feels like police aren't holding up their end of the bargain by taking the violent perpetrators off the streets.
People who don't see police as legitimate are less likely to come forward with information, Myers says. But that means more homicides go unsolved, further eroding trust in police and keeping the cycle going. The SLMPD's clearance rate has improved in recent years. In 2023, detectives solved 88 of that year's 158 homicides. But it's too early to know whether that progress will be sustained, and the recent uptick does little to reverse the impact of years of failure. Without answers from police, families can sometimes feel compelled to take justice into their own hands, fueling more violence. Donita Stunson's youngest daughter, Danielle, was distraught over the death of her sister in that North St. Louis triple homicide. Stunson says Danielle thought people she knew weren't sharing information with the cops.
And then I guess Danielle was going to be judge and jury.
After a vigil in February 2018, Danielle pulled up next to a car carrying some of those people and opened fire. No one was hurt, but Stunson says police talked to her more about that shooting than the murder that prompted it.
And I told that policeman, I said, well, you know what, had you all did what you should have done, she might not have gotten to this point.
Danielle pleaded guilty to several charges, including first-degree assault in 2019. She spent about 4 years in prison. Police say they are still looking for leads in the killing of her sister. I'm Rachel Lippmann, St. Louis Public Radio.
You can read more of our investigation into homicide clearance rates at stlpr.org. The Gateway is a production of St. Louis Public Radio, a listener-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis. Music by Ryan McNeely of Adult Fur. I'm Abby Larico, and from the St. Louis Public Radio newsroom, this has been The Gateway.